Why does a successful ophthalmologist with a seven-figure practice leave her job? Simple. It's not the right fit. And when you're called to do more, serve more, and help more people, you trust yourself to figure out when you walk away and what you walk toward. Today, you will meet Dr. Veronica Anderson, who joins me to talk about how to make the right moves in your career, how to stand out and be different from your competition, and why you can't effort your way to success as you build your mid-career GPS. Let's get started. Hello, my friends. This is the Mid-Career GPS podcast. I'm your host, John Nerrell. I help mid-career professionals find a job they love or love the job they have using my proven four-step formula. I'm joined today by Dr. Veronica Anderson, who is the author of Get the Respect You Deserve: 7 Secrets to Getting Heard in Your Job and in Your Relationship. She is an Ivy League educated eye surgeon, practicing psychic, Colby certified and human design relationship coach. She is trained in functional medicine by the Institute of Functional Medicine and in homeopathy. She is also a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo, and her husband is a Taekwondo master. In this episode, Dr. Veronica shares her enlightening and practical method for creating successful careers and fulfilling relationships. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Veronica Anderson. Dr. Veronica Anderson, thank you so very much for spending some time with us today. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here, John. Honored that you have invited me to be here and share with your audience. So thank you very much for that.
Well, you and I have recently connected, and I'm fascinated by your background and your story. We're going to get into that, but everybody has this kind of mid-career moment. It is that part in their career that changed where they are and what they're doing. Would you please share with us what your mid-career moment has been?
Oh my gosh. I was by all means, successful ophthalmologist, eye surgeon with my own practice, but yet walking around, working part-time, making almost $1 million a year. And I was absolutely miserable. And when I say absolutely miserable, I had become clinically depressed, and I knew I was depressed, but didn't know how depressed I was. And one day I planned that I'm just walking away from my medical practice. My practice. I decided I'm leaving and I'm never coming back, and I didn't tell anybody. And I was feeling like I wasn't where I was supposed to be, but yet I felt guilt and shame for saying that, because outwardly I have all the successes that everybody wanted at that point in life. I was married, I had 3 kids, I had a great practice, I had a wonderful husband, and my former husband is a great guy. I want people to know that, because I left a marriage of a guy who was wonderful, but I knew I should be doing something else and be with somebody else. And there was that deep, deep feeling that I wasn't being who I was. And that led to a very profound depression, because I was just like, what do I do about this? Who do I talk to about it? And everything just fell apart.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And I am sure there are people who are listening who have experienced similar situations or things where they recognize where they're not where they're supposed to be. Can you share with us a little bit about what was an initial step or thought that you had that helped you take those kind of proactive steps to get where you are now?
It's interesting because you say proactive, and part of it I realize in hindsight was pushing into actually who I am and who I'm supposed to be. And we can talk about that with, like we talk about Colby and human design, and this is what I help people with. But getting to the point where no longer I could do it the way other people were saying I should do it. And I had to just do it the way I wanted to do it and the way I saw doing it. So when you say what gave you the courage, there was just one day I was so miserable that I wanted to die. I wanted to die. But on the other side, I didn't want to die. I wanted to survive. And so it was that ray of, I know there's something else out there for me. And I'm just going to do something other than end it all. That got me there. It was that ray of hope. I don't even, I'll tell you what part of the ray of hope. I got so depressed. And I have a friend from medical school that we had met way back. And I don't know, people are in your life and you don't know why they're in your life. And I would text him and say, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. And we had been friends for so long. And he just really spoke words to me that nobody else was saying to me. He didn't just say, well, you're a wonderful person and stop feeling that way. He said things like, you have such a wonderful life ahead of you. You're going to do wonderful things. You have magnificence ahead of you. Your life is going to be, he was saying those things that it was like my guardian angel speaking to me. And I I just say there's going to be something or somebody who's going to be like that. It might be somebody today who listens to this podcast and says, Dr. Veronica or John, that they were the ones that kept me going. I mean, that was number one. After his name is Alfred, Dr. Parchment, after he did this, it was actually at a time where the movie and book and everything, The Secret, came out. And I started listening to The Secret and realizing this is the way I think life works anyway. But this is the first time that anybody has ever said it. This is what I think and this is what I feel. And this is the first time it's being validated. And so it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. And I got to tell you, I had the audio book and I must have listened to that so many times. The words of encouragement, the words of, think and then take inspired action. This is the way the universe works. I got to tell you, Jack Canfield and Michael Bernard Beckwith and Marie Diamond and Joe Vitale, and some of these people I've actually had the opportunity to meet, like Jack Canfield and Bob Proctor. I coach with a guy who is a protege of Bob Proctor, and I've met Bob Proctor. Those people on that audio of The Secret, I swear, brought me out of depression because I was seriously clinically depressed. I did go to a psychologist who also helped me. That was instrumental. Although she said you may need to consider medicine, you're really bad off, consider medicine. I chose not to go that way. And yet my depression did heal because I had a dark night of the soul. And I really begin to fall into who I truly am as an authentic person. So I was miserable because I wasn't being me. And I didn't realize that's what it was.
When you think about those experiences and the transformation that you've had and the growth as well, and we think about the person who's listening that might be having some difficulty navigating their mid-career journey. They're frustrated in their job. They're not happy with where they are. They know there's something more. What comes up for me as I'm listening to you is that there's an element here about how someone learns to trust themselves. How do they know that they're capable and proficient in order to be able to make the kind of moves they want to make, be it whether in their life or in their career? When you help people today, how do you help them learn to trust themselves?
So first, realize that everything happens on purpose. There are no accidents. And so your trust in just sitting here and listening to this podcast is step number one to understand that you have been led a particular way and you followed it, which is why you are here. Now you're like, okay, now what do I do with that? Where do I go? There are steps to take, and realize that you have been programmed to do things a certain way that's not necessarily the right way for you. So how do you figure out the right way? And that's where coming to the right coach helps you, because all of us have blind spots and blocks. And like, I was an eye surgeon. I know in your eye is an absolute blind spot. There is no way you can see right there, because there's where your nerve is. But yet what you do is you fill it in. So you don't know, you cannot see right there. Right?
Yep.
Coaches and mentors, and when I say coach, hire somebody on your team. When you hire somebody, when you pay, you will pay attention. Get that person on your team to help you uncover your blind spots. And that person will not do it for you. They cannot do it for you. Now, how do I do that? Well, after working with a lot of clients, I have come up with my proprietary method, the respect method. But some of the tools that I use, both personally and professionally, are tools like the Colby Index, which is a part of your brain, that how you do things, and also human design, because that is your spiritual blueprint. That is about your purpose and your destiny and your strategy for getting there. And everybody's strategy is different. So when someone comes to me and I do that, the first thing I do is say, you are of this type. And if you want to begin listening to your intuition, use this technique. So you walk away and I say, use this technique. I'll look at it and say, do this, test this out. Now, I don't say try this. Why don't I say try this? Because when you try, you never do it and you never get there. Do
Right.
this and test it. Do it and test it, and then come back and report next week and let's see what happened. When you do it and test it, give it a trial, because what happens is constant space repetition. You try something out, you do something, you test it, you trial it, and you start noticing the results. Then you keep doing it because it's working for you. So little baby steps. So as a coach and a guide, now I call myself an intuitive guide because I am an intuitive, and it took a very long time for me to say that out loud. As part of coming into it. Because think about it, I'm a Western trained doctor from an Ivy League institution. I mean, left brain up the wazoo. But I didn't notice for years later, I'm completely right wired. Okay. This is what I'm meant to do. Yes, I was a surgeon with a successful practice, and I went through medical school, graduated with honors, all the stuff that people want, the accolades that people want. But yet, I am right wired and meant to do things in this intuitive realm. Maybe that's what's going on with you. Some people are out there, that might be what's going on with you, and you're feeling like there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. So when we sit down and we say, okay, here is part of the way your brain works, this is part of your aura and your energy. Now, here's what I want you to do so that you can test it out. And once you test and you start getting positive feedback, then you begin to trust yourself, because you realize you're going with your flow, you're going with your energy, and it works. And these are the things that the really elite people in our world know. They know how to trust themselves. They figured it out. And they got a lot of times feedback. A lot of times you get feedback because you got a lot of money that you created, not money that you got from a job. Now, let me say something about that. A lot of times people are working for someone else. They get compensated quite well. But then when they step out on their own, they can't get it figured out. Why is that? Because they never had to figure out for themselves. I mean, they did what somebody else told them to do. They did the job, but figuring out what they needed to do, they never quite figured that out. And so those people that figured out clearly who they were and what they need to do, and they stopped caring what other people think. They don't care what others think. A la Steve Jobs, a la Jeff Bezos, a la Elon Musk, a la Richard Branson, a la Oprah Winfrey. I was trying to think of a woman who does. It's
My
very
mind was going there too.
it's very hard to think of women that do that, because if you have women that are listening, understand that we are programmed to like care what other people thinks, and we live and by what other people thinks. And a lot of times we will take down each other. Women will take down each other, caring what other people think and don't even know why they're doing it. But men have this type of thing going on too.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I coach men versus women, and everybody, if you're coachable and you're ready, willing, and able, you will get results. But a lot of times women are going around and questioning a lot of things. And do I believe it? Here's the thing. When you work with me, and besides the techniques I talked about, I just got fully trained. I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner. When we're fully working together, you're going to follow what I say to do rather than look for agreement. That's the mistake that people make. They think that I have to agree with what you're saying. Otherwise, I'm not going to trust you and I'm not going to do it. There's the big mistake and why a lot of people fall down. You're looking for agreement rather than the result. So now I am a fully trained doctor who is a surgeon who's gone through all kinds of training, and people think that they're going to be able to research on Google enough to compete with that.
Yeah.
Stop trying to agree and follow the process.
So I want to expand on that a little bit because for many mid-career professionals they're in that manager to senior director type role. They have huge aspirations of moving up the corporate ladder, getting promoted, getting the recognition they desire. And to your point, Veronica, they are bombarded with a lot of outside influence and stimuli that comes at them, what they see on social media, what they're hearing in their corporate environment and stuff. What are the pitfalls you see of people who try to mimic or be like somebody else in their career?
Oh, it absolutely doesn't work. It is,
Yeah.
in order for you to stand out, you have to be different. You have to be a showman. You have to do something that they say, not, and you can't effort your way to it. You can't work hard to it. When you're who you are supposed to be, you're going to stand out. Stop living and dying by what McKinsey and E&Y and all those reports say, because everybody's reading them and then they're going to be like everybody else. Go out, be courageous, and do something different. Now, I know this is hard for a lot of the people listening because when we do Colby's, you'll see a lot of people who've made it high level in corporate are what are called fact finders. And so they live and die by the data. Data. And the data is not there, they won't make a move. And they're paralyzed by, oh my God, the data doesn't say it. Well, remember, statistics do not apply to the individual. Therefore, you have to find your own flow and your own groove. And when you find your own flow and your own groove, you will stand out because it will be obvious that you are confident in your energy. And people will notice that because we all pick up energy. You may not have words for it. I'll give you words for it. So you'll be able to call it something, and I'll give you data so you can fact find about it. But when you flow into your own energy and be who you're supposed to be, who you were meant to be, you will stand out.
Hey there, we'll get back to the episode in a moment, but I want to give you something game-changing, a golden ticket that is like having a roadmap to take you from career confusion to clarity in minutes. Introducing the Mid-Career Job Seekers Checklist. It is your secret weapon in your job search. And if you feel like navigating your job search right now is like navigating a maze blindfolded, don't worry, my friend, I got your back. This checklist is a powerhouse of organization and preparation, crafted to make you say goodbye to feeling overwhelmed and hello to a career transition made easy. I want you to head on over to johnneral.com to snag your free copy of the Mid-Career Job Seekers Checklist. It's not just a checklist, it is a career compass to help you find that job you're going to love. Now, let's dive back into the episode. You said you cannot effort your way to success. and listeners, I know I don't publish the video here, but like Veronica just gave this like sigh a little bit, like just like kind of connecting with me on this because tell us a little bit more about what you mean by you cannot effort your way to success.
So, um, so the first thing I want to advise to people right now before I go into this is read the book Think and Grow Rich. It's a famous book. Read it and read it over and over and over again. And I'm saying that because one of the success secrets of people who've really made it in life is that they have a white hot desire. And then they realize that it's not hard work that has got them there. It is that desire and taking inspired right action. Now, that doesn't mean they're not doing anything, but they're not working hard. They're not working harder than the next person. And we've been taught that hard work is what gets us there. And in fact, we get mad at people who don't look like they're working hard. For instance, now we have this thing called like lazy girl jobs. And it's really people in one generation hating on another generation because they realized how to be in their flow and do enough to have their life be the way they want it to be. So that's really, when you're calling people lazy girl and things like that, we're just hating on people because they figured it out, right? There's a generation they got it figured out.
So
Okay.
true.
Really. The thing is, this is why we're teaching you how to flow into it. And I'm talking about what's called inspired action. And when you learn some of these tools, and you're going to have to learn it, realize that your intuition muscles are weak and almost non-existent because you've been taught to use one part of the brain, the cognitive part of your brain. The other two parts of your brain are poo-pooed, and one of them you don't even know about, the cognitive part, right? These things that have to do with purpose and destiny and aura, people say, oh, you're crazy, that doesn't exist. Yet everybody knows that everybody acts crazy in the moon cycles. Well, what do you think that is? It's quantum physics. There's reasons that this happens. You just haven't studied it. So you think it's not real because you haven't heard of it. But that's absolutely not the case. It's just like the real New Year is January 22nd. It's called the Rave New Year. And it has to do with the way the planets are in alignment, where the energy goes into a certain way, and it's the perfect time to start action. So before that, everybody wonders, why do I feel so yuck in the beginning of January? Because that's the way the planets are moving, and that's why you feel like you don't want to do anything, even though like you feel like you're supposed to do something because the Gregorian calendar rolled over. But there are so many other ways to do life than your little silo. And so expand, open, have your openness and willingness to learn something different and do something different is really going to get you there. Your willingness to be different, even when it's uncomfortable. And here's the key about uncomfortable. If you are not uncomfortable, you are not growing. So when you stay in your comfort zone, you are not getting underwear. Do you think that it feels good when Elon Musk is watching his rocket come back to Earth? No, but he watches it happen and then says, ugh. Now, what do I learn from that? Let me get up, brush off. And, in the next minute, they're planning what the next thing is to do.
Well,
And this
and
is how elite minds operate. And a lot of times we are hating on those people for there's a lot of reasons. That's a whole nother podcast. So
oh, yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about being uncomfortable, I'm often reminded by someone who I follow pretty closely, Amy Porterfield, who is an online marketing expert, and she has this phrase called DSD, do something different. And it's exactly to that point, right? It's about in order to grow, we can't be stagnant. We have to get out of our comfort zone, do something different. And so if you're listening to this and you are currently unemployed and frustrated that what you are doing to apply for jobs online is not working, do something different. If you are networking with people and you're not making really great connections, meet different people. If you're interviewing for jobs and you're getting to that second and third round, but you're not getting the offer, do something different. To your point, Veronica, it's that opportunity about how can we get a little bit uncomfortable in order to grow and get a different result.
Let me add on to about when you need to do something different. If you have any kind of health problem, any kind of health problem, any type of illness or injury or anxiety, or you need to do so. That is a sign from the universe that you need to do something different. Now, this is not the book we're talking about. That was my second book what I talked about that kind of stuff. But your body does keep the score. If you're a person that keeps having accidents in some way, you keep bumping yourself, falling up, that's a sign. That's a little sign because you're still like, oh, I'm just clumsy. That's not what just is happening there. But if you have any kind of health problem, those health problems are a message from the universe that you need to do something different. Now, why am I saying this so strongly? Because I was a conventionally led doctor, trained, but I'm also what's called a medical intuitive, where I'm able to see things about people, know things about people vis-a-vis their health without doing it the traditional way in the exam room. I mean, I can assess energy, let's call it like this. And a lot of people think this isn't real, but I have people come to me who have conditions that are strange, rare, and peculiar. They've tried everything. They're efforting. They're doing everything perfect. And yet they still can't get the result. And that's because our illnesses and injuries are in our aura way before they're in our body. And so you may think, well, I did everything right, but the problem's still in your aura. It's at a completely different level. And you need to do something different. And that's where, these kind of skills and techniques of people that you think are crazy and all that other type of stuff come in. And this is why I do it, because I realized, wow, I didn't want to do it. I was scared. I was so scared to be canceled by my own profession. And they still want to cancel me. So what? Because there are people out there that this helps. There's somebody who's going to listen and say, you mean there's somebody else that can help me? I've been to all the best hospitals all over the world, and they said, give it up. You're just like that. You can heal. Your body is meant to heal. You may call it a miracle. It's not. When you get rid of that block in your energetic system, you can have what's called a miracle cure. And it's safe and effective. This is why, now also hypnotherapy, hypnosis, NLP, being able to talk to people's subconscious and talking to their now think about it. Your body is controlled subconsciously, completely. You're blinking, you're swallowing, you're breathing, your cells it's all what if you can have your subconscious spoken to, and all of a sudden you start to lose weight with no cravings? You're just not hungry. You don't even think about the food. What if you can stop smoking? What if you can give up a particular addiction? That all happens subconsciously, not through efforting. And you know that because you already failed trying. Stop trying and do what works. And I'm talking about techniques that have lots of years of research behind them at this point in time.
Well, Veronica, you've given us a ton of things to reflect on and consider, and especially this whole idea about not efforting, but we do need to start wrapping up. So as we do, what advice would you have for someone to help them build their mid-career GPS to whatever is next for them and their career?
It's so funny that you would ask it, and I had an answer before. But my answer is different now because it really is stop and ask your higher self, What is next? Listen to the answer. It's going to scare you. And that's what you need to do and take action. And know there's people like John and there's people like me around to hold your hand in those moments of discomfort.
Yeah. Thank you for offering that for everybody. I appreciate that. Well, Veronica, if people want to follow up, connect with you, learn more about you, your books, anything you have going on, I'm going to turn the mic over to you now. Please share with us all of the great things and places where people can connect with you.
So my website is drveronica.com, drveronica.com. And on there, you can get a free Colby, a free human design, but the most fun one to go get is my relationship quiz. What's keeping you from having a satisfying relationship? See, my book is about jobs and relationships to get you respect you deserve. Relationships are relationships. So you take, even if your relationship is good, take that, because you're going to start realizing what your personality pattern is and how you're showing up. Then we can move from there. But that's fun. Takes 5 minutes.
Okay. And tell us about your books as well, please.
So my latest book is Get the Respect You Deserve: 7 Secrets to Getting Seen and Heard in Your Job and Relationships. And the book before that, which I wrote specifically to a doctor audience, but a lot of other people have read it, Too Smart to Be Struggling.
Mm.
A guide for overscheduled doctors to find happiness and make more money too. Now, although I wrote that book for doctors, you realize when I say too smart to be struggling, that's all these people who are, if you're efforting, that's what's happening. And the book is about how to find your next thing. What is your next thing? And that's what the book talks about.
I will make sure all of that is in the show notes, including a link to your LinkedIn profile. Dr. Veronica Anderson, thank you so very much for spending some time with us today on the Mid-Career GPS podcast.
Thank you, John.
All right, my friends. So if there's one big takeaway from my conversation with Veronica today, it is this. Where are you efforting? Where is all of the work that you're putting into something and not getting the results you specifically want? This is an opportunity for you to dig a little bit deeper and think about, where do you want to increase your overall job, workplace, or even personal satisfaction? Because you're just putting in a whole lot of effort and not getting the results you need or want. So I offer you to take some time this week and think about, where's the effort going and what's happening as a result because of it, and what could you potentially do something different to help you produce a different result. So until next time, my friends, remember this: you will build your mid-career GPS 1 mile or 1 step at a time, and how you show up matters. Make it a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening to the Mid-Career GPS podcast. Make sure to follow on your favorite listening platform. And if you have a moment, I'd love to hear your comments on Apple Podcasts. Visit johnnerrell.com for more information about how I can help you build your mid-career GPS, or how I can help you and your organization with your next workshop or public speaking event. Don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn and follow me on social at John Nerrell Coaching. I look forward to being back with you next week. Until then, take care, and remember, how we show up matters.